and the volunteers and helpers on that side of the room. So just have a check and if it is right, and we'll just start.
Just not your teacher.
Maybe you can find potential teachers.
Potential teachers, yeah. Then I want qualify.
Of course, okay. So yesterday you made a volunteer as well.
Sure.
The others can come at the same. And admin is also a teacher. Admin is also a part of the teacher.
Admin, you can make the classes.
Yeah.
I think more.
He's not a teacher.
Sorry,
Not a teacher.
You have taken the English class.
I think more chairs you want so that we can just shift you around.
So just note, I mean, this event is also live streamed on Google Hangout just in case.
Wow.
So you're on CCTV surveillance.
Oh no, we thought we will be spared here.
And guess what? It's not
I would register yours to make. Yeah, so not just eVidyaloka teachers, but also, I mean, practicing teachers if you have, would love to. So, Usha, you consider yourself trainer, teacher?
I don't know, I'm a coordinator.
You're a coordinator, okay.
But eventually I hope to become a teacher.
Sure.
I don't know whether I can go there now.
And
Okay.
also we can see all the teacher category are behaving like students and leaving the
Yeah, the
class.
last bench actually. More comfortable chairs. Sure, yeah. So it's probably another 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
10
5 minutes.
So 10 minutes to justify Indian system. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I give myself.
It's my job to get enthusiasm. And it's like a way around it's easy. As some parents for volunteers and so I just really went and that's
So we'll start. Yeah. So I would like to invite Siddharth and Shreyas for the invocation. Very beautiful. Very nice introductions for me. I would like to request now Dhati's mother and Vikas sir to please come here for camera. Auntie.
She, come. Come. You come.
You're off.
Oh my God.
Just get to the post. Just go to the Thank you. That's nice. We missed you. It's okay. Just go.
Vishy, I'll invite you over again for the rest of the for the forwards.
Good morning, everyone. We are a bit nervous. Too many teachers on the board. Please don't point out my mistakes. We give it offline for now. Actually, it's a privilege to be welcoming you all for the Teachers' Day at eVidyaloka. It's one of the most important days for us here because we all make these eVidyaloka happen. So we get an opportunity to invite you physically to be amongst ourselves and then be able to felicitate. It's a great opportunity and a privilege. So thank you all of you for being here. We have amongst ourselves Vishal, who is the founder of eVidyaloka. They've been doing some great work on the field, developing skill sets for various children, various age groups. So it's we get very learning about the challenges and the milestones and achievements they had during their journey. Before I'll just give a small brief update about what we have been doing since last year. So we were at 25 centers last year across Jharkhand, Andhra, and Tamil Nadu. We were able to now grow from 25 to 40 centers. And at those 25 centers, we had great success. We were able to deliver around 70% of our classes that we planned to deliver, and around 1,250 plus children were actually taught last year. So it was a great experience trying to understand the first initial 2 years, how the process works, how the challenges of doing it remote works, and also how the partnership with the partners works and all those things. We're able to use all that experience, and now we are able to actually grow steadily and effectively. So this year we are at 40 plus centers, and we also added one more state, Karnataka, and it's due to popular pressure, I would say, because being in Bangalore, we actually started in the Dharwad region and Koppal. That's where we are not doing anything close to Bangalore, even though there is enough pressure to do close here. And when Vishal and others are here, we thought we will concentrate a little bit outside. And we also have started classes on digital more regularly now than on just relying on broadband. So our reach is also becoming better and better. And the 3G, there are some challenges, but as the network is getting stabilized on those areas, the classes are happening more regularly, and it's more predictable than a landline because of the 3G being more stable. And we have had around 50% of our teachers who have come back and then continues to teach year on year. So that's actually a great number to be proud of, because the teachers are actually enjoying the experience of actually teaching these children. So we're able to provide a platform where they want to continue to participate year on year. So that's also a great milestone. And we also had first time our partner summit. So how our model works, I don't know if some of you know or not. We have partners on the field in Jharkhand, in Tamil Nadu, in Andhra Pradesh, and in Karnataka who help us with the infrastructure of setting up the BSNL connection or the 3G, and then making sure the classes happen and students really attend the classes models. So we have partners across all the regions, and the first time we had all the partners come over to Bangalore, and we had a strategy discussion with them for over 2 days in May to make sure this year the classes start as early as June, July. And that was a great success. We had every partner come in and then join us. And we were able to actually get the strategic discussion going, and we were able to start classes on time. So one of the challenges last year. And also in Tamil Nadu, we actually finally got into government schools. So one of the ways that we find our model is effective is that we operate within the premises of the schools. Anything outside of the schools, we are not being effective. So after 2.5 years of trying to get in the government schools of Tamil Nadu, we had a breakthrough success this year. And we just started last month onwards where we are in government schools of Tamil Nadu. And we hope to continue and then grow that trend also. And we have more actually questions coming in from various states like Gujarat and Maharashtra and West Bengal and all those places. And we also have a request from an army school in Assam. They want us to set up schools. So clearly this model is very attractive, and it looks like very effective. And we are hoping that teachers like you will continue to participate in the platform, make this more successful and a sustainable model that we can go as we go forward. So again, thank you all for joining us on this day, and hope we have a very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
So Rishi is the chairman of eVidyaloka, so I would request him to have us. Our special guest for today is Vishal Tareja, who is the co-founder and CEO of Dreamer Team organization. There's a small note written about him, it's a lot, so I would like not to remember. So he comes with deep grassroots level experience with working with children and young people of about 15 years. He is a dreamer and believer in the inherent potential of every child. He is an Ashoka Fellow, Eisenhower Fellow, and he sits on boards of organizations such as Unlimited India, Bangalore Cares, and CSIM Bangalore. And I just say two sentences about Dreamer Dream organization. It's a professional charitable trust based out of Bangalore. It works with over 3,000 volunteers, impacting around 60,000 young people. So I would like to welcome Vishal on stage. So if you could just give a small introduction about Dreamer Dream.
Should I come there or this is fine?
You can stand. You can step. Yeah. At least you get covered by the on CCTV.
Maybe then I should be. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, special thanks to Venkat and definitely to Satish. They kept me engaged with eVidyaloka right from the time it was an idea. I haven't given as much as I should have, but Venkat is very persuasive, and yes, I'm really glad for that. So congratulations first for all the achievements and milestones that eVidyaloka has had. I remember early days when Satish used to spend a lot of time discussing about the idea, and there used to be this twinkle in his eyes because he could see the potential of the idea, and it's amazing to see what the reality is today and how rapidly it's growing. So it's a privilege and an honor. So thank you. So just to tell you a little bit about Dream Dream, Dream Dream has been around for about 16 years. We focus on working with young people who come from difficult backgrounds, developing life skills. A lot of you might think, what are life skills? Life skills are basically skills, attitudes that help every individual deal with challenges of daily living. You and me also on a daily basis use life skills. If today you made a choice to be here, you are exercising a life skill. We believe as the world is entering the 21st century, the skills that students require today are very different from what the education system is able to provide. I keep remembering this quote that I had read some time back, that if you take a surgeon from an operating theatre, say 1914, and put them in an operating theatre today, they wouldn't know what to do. But sometimes when you could take a teacher from a classroom in 1914 and put them in a classroom today, they fit right in. And that's not something that we need to be proud of. So while the world has moved massively and really embraced the future, the education system still seems to be stuck in an industrial age where the objective of education was to build clerks or people who can form. So the world today is a lot about creative thinking. And we at Dream Dream believe that today as is the best time for children and young people from difficult backgrounds to come out of poverty. Because education is no longer a limiting factor. Education can be a very powerful enabler for helping them getting out of poverty. So that's what we focus on. We work with students directly through after-school programs using sports and arts to develop life skills. And we also work with teachers. We work with teachers in semi-urban and rural areas on how teachers can unlock their creativity and bring empathy into the classroom. Today's classrooms are more complex. Today's behaviors that children showcase and demonstrate in a classroom are very complex, very unpredictable. Learning levels in children in the same classroom are very different. But a teacher is expected to be a lot more of a facilitator of learning rather than impart knowledge. So we focus on how do we enable teachers to
bring more empathy and creativity in the classroom using creative facilitation techniques. We work with about 1,000 teachers now, and the results are phenomenal. We have teachers who come back and say, my students love me now. It is something that they've never said. Yeah.
It's a very similar experience with you and they feel the impact that.
That's one of the things prompted me, Vishal, to say you could be the right person, and that was when really focusing on volunteering. So that you are the perfect person to address that. You love to hear your sorry. And who better can it be to address the volunteering? Who has practiced seasoned it over the last decade or so. It would be wonderful to have you listen to us. Yeah, it's good.
So that's what we do. Of course, I see why eVidyaloka is making such a big impact. Because I think more than just bringing teachers into schools in rural areas, and what eVidya is enabling, which is bringing role models. When you are sitting there, when you're doing a mathematics lesson or a language lesson or a science lesson, the student is not just looking at a teacher who is imparting knowledge. The student is looking at a role model. And let me assure you that you will never realize the impact of David in these kids' lives. Because this kid, 20 years later, is going to think back at you, look at you and say, that was the teacher that taught me this. And I'm sure all of us can think of examples of our own teachers in our lives. And our teachers would never realize the impact they created in our lives. So that's really the power of what all of you are doing and what you are really trying to do. Is bring role models into the life of these students. So you should pat yourself in the back.
Sure. That's it. Yeah.
That's it now.
Yeah. You just told about David. We wanted to hear more from you, Vishal.
I can share.
Yeah, please. Yeah. You will show the video. No, it's after the
So, is there anything you want me to comment on?
Yeah, I mean, you don't better.
Yeah.
What it is.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, that's right.
See, so I would love to learn about creative, teaching techniques, right? The challenge I have is doing it remotely. So, can you, with your vast experience in having taught teachers how to teach better in a more creative fashion, can you help us with figuring out ways to teach creatively remotely?
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think we've tracked that
Okay.
because ours is a very high
Face to face.
pace, feel and
Contact.
touch.
The contact sport.
Yeah, yeah,
So I will leave this challenge with you
sure.
to think about. First time to do this, we would love to learn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could, next couple of months, whatever, you could benefit from, we would be very grateful.
I think the way to explore any such question is for us is always about taking a step back and forward. It would also be lack of exposure. So if you look at children in a rural village, poverty is a very relative term. But we don't necessarily have exposure. But what we have learned, and this has taken us 15 years of learning, in understanding child, is that children come from difficult backgrounds in early childhood face adversity. And adversity can be of different kinds. It could be lack of nutrition, lack of love and care in the family environment, for a variety of circumstances. Abandonment, being orphaned, in some extreme cases, exposure to violence and abuse. When children face any kind of adversity, development gets muted. We all understand that every individual, every child goes through a development process. There are sensitive periods when we hit developmental milestones. A basic understanding of that milestone is height and weight. So every child goes through a normal development curve. But when you face adversity, that development gets delayed. I'll give you an example. If you actually go to a Mr. You've been working with government schools or schools in Bangalore, you'll understand this. If you go to a say a low-cost private school and meet a 13-year-old boy, and if you go to say a Bishop Carters or an international school and meet a 13-year-old boy, the height difference is visible. Same age. This is caused because of adversity, because of then developmental delays. Now, developmental delays are not just physical, they can also be mental and emotional. When developmental delays happen, it leads to failure to thrive or stunted growth, which is what we call it in medical terms. So then children are basically just catching up to an education system. Suddenly then these children are put into an education system where from day one, you're expected to start performing. Performing doesn't necessarily mean examination. Performing means you're expected to sit in a class for 40 minutes. You're expected to make friends. You're expected to listen. You're expected to ask questions. You're expected to understand what's being taught. If you have not had a normal development process, that's literally impossible. Have you ever seen, for example, a child crawl up, start crawling and then jump out and start running? They learn to crawl, they learn to stand up, they learn to walk, then they learn to run. If that process does not happen, that leads to failure. Now let's talk about, say, for example, in your case, structured learning. You're trying to give them, impart education through time over a 40-minute session. How do you expect them to pay attention? Now, structured learning, what is the first experience of structured learning any of us have? When we are kids, when we are infants, in anyone, what would be the first experience of structured learning that they might have had? Eating. Eating, yes. Yes, when you learn to eat on your own, right? It could also be when for the first time our parents or our grandparents tell us a story. So when you're in your grandparents' lap and your grandmother is sharing a story, that's actually our first experience of structured learning, of paying attention. When we have a series of those experiences, and when we enter the educational system, our ability to pay attention goes up to 15 minutes. Even worldwide, it is said an adult does not have an attention span of more than 18 minutes. But yet, we expect a student to be in a class for 40 minutes paying attention. So, one way to use that in a technology-oriented learning environment is to break up your session between learning and activity. An activity doesn't necessarily mean a 20-minute activity. It could be a 10-second activity. And what that does is brings the attention and the structure back into it. So I think the key with any creative challenge working with children is first understand the child. Over the last 2 days, I was at a retreat with my team, and one of our team members had brought a 2-year-old son. And I just gave him my mobile, 2-year-old. The first thing he did when he took my mobile phone, he turned it aside like this, and then tried to look for a button. You could see his fingers trying to look, and he didn't find it. And he turned it like this, and he put his fingers around here, and figured out a button, and he had my mobile on. Now children are coming up with much advanced levels of what we call higher order skills, which means it's a challenge on us as adults to keep pace with that. And how we do that is using creativity. Today, knowledge, whether you look at rural areas or urban areas, knowledge is no longer the forte of the teacher. When I went to school, the teacher had all the knowledge. They imparted that to us. Today, students have access to knowledge beyond nature, to technology.
teacher is essentially a facilitator.
Sorry.
Teacher is essentially a facilitator.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bangalore. But what students don't know is what to do with that knowledge. How do I do decision making with that knowledge? How do I make choices with that knowledge? How do I process information that helps me move forward? Which is where facilitation comes in.
I think it's more of a management of how, when someone is, and in what type someone is learning, and probably where I think teacher is more of a strategist in the class.
Yeah, you can call them whatever strategist, manager, creative thinker, but it's a different role.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, I mean, all of people here, they're all kind of investing the time to see a better child, to see a better society. Right? I want to kind of hear your thoughts, perspective. I mean, we are doing it using these vehicles, social organizations. What is the role of these social organizations like us, the viewers, and the responsibility they carry? And as I mean, especially in eVidyaloka, the volunteer itself is part of the organization, right? What is the role or responsibility you see in the larger scheme of things?
Just my reflections around this. Organizations will always have limited impact. Whether it's an individual or a human dream or a Pratham or a tribe. As an organization, we will always have limited impact. But that doesn't necessarily take away the criticality of our work. I think where organizations like eVidyaloka play a very critical role is in helping find a creative solution that can work at scale. Helping find an innovative approach, a process to solve this problem. The challenge is no one's actually found a way to get ahead of the problem. We're all actually trying to catch up to the problem.
Yeah, we say like, we know what the problem is and we try to solve it. Yeah.
So we actually have a very interesting responsibility. It's about finding a way to get ahead of the problem. Because at some point we want to be able to solve the problem and close down. I believe the single most goal of every non-profit organization has to be to shut down. Shut down because you've either solved the problem or you've created a large enough ecosystem that is trying to solve the problem. Beyond it. So, for example, if using the learnings from eVidyaloka inspires 100 other organizations to start using technology for education, you've built now an ecosystem that is now critically trying to solve the problem. Right? If you've got, for example, find ways to make it commercially viable so the money is going behind this idea. If you found built an ecosystem, or if you found a way for the government to adapt, then you have built an ecosystem that's going to solve it. So I think that's the criticality of organizations like ours to actually go deeper. Right? No, I don't think our role as a volunteer,
what role does a volunteer would have to play part in this?
is to consistently keep the child at the center and then feedback. And because when you're spending time with a bunch of children once a week, once in 2 weeks, every day, you're learning about the child. You're learning about the behavior of the child, how the child is responding. If you do everything that DMF knows today about the child has come from ground up. Right? No research studies. It's usually been that we have discovered something about the child, and then we have found a study which says, oh yeah, that makes sense. If you look at, for example, Montessori also. Maria Montessori's entire approach was to spend time with the child. The more time she spent, the more she discovered, the more insights she developed. Those insights were then converted into a system that today is famous worldwide. That's an ecosystem building idea. So I think the role of the volunteer is really around observe, develop insight, reflect and feedback. So it goes back into the design. So others can also then start using that insight.
Are you referring to something called an action research?
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. But yeah, that's a wonderful perspective actually. But you have put us in risk actually. Our volunteers had been looking forward to do this teaching lifetime. You're asking us to shut down the teaching.
No, but I think it's a very good idea.
Yes.
And read this also. That the ultimate aim of the social organization is to create themselves into a
Yeah.
So look at the difference. We also have a commercial organization which came up with like a smart classroom, but it hasn't been successful. Yeah, it hasn't been successful. Why? Because they are not investing in understanding the child and how the child learns. What you're trying to do is that combination. Right? You're approaching the solution from a space of technology as an enabler, but you're still keeping the child at the center.
Absolutely. And that's where I think our volunteers makes the precious component of the whole ecosystem. If it was just a technology-based solution, by now you would have had an investor, you would have been a millionaire with no solution. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a really good technology. So the child at the center. We understand many people about the child. And even our whole, if you look at worldwide also, neuroscience or understanding brain development is a very new science in the world. So we understand very, very little about it. The latest research that we came across, we all know that nearly 70 to 80% of brain development happens up to the age of 6. Now, if I take that same to a relevance of children coming from very difficult backgrounds, coming from specific adversity, then those children are really lost causes. Because any kind of intervention reaches them only after the age of 6, when they enter school. Is that the case? And you can just say, okay, if they're a lost cause, so let's not do anything about it. The new research that's coming around brain development is suggesting that the next big spurt of brain development happens in the adults. When we read that research, we actually went back to a field and we started doing impact analysis of our adolescents. What we found out is that these adolescents, even though coming from very critical adversity spaces, because of the life skills programs that we was doing, they're able to get back into a normal development, including developing hygiene data. And now we have this research validating that for us. So there's very little we actually understand about child behavior, infant behavior around brain development. Which means that it's an open field. Which means you could be making the next big discovery of child behavior, bringing that to the world. And that answer, I believe, is going to come from India. Because we are trying to solve a huge problem with very little money. And the only way we'll be able to do that is at least understanding the child.
Vishal, instead of working with teachers, you have a program to create empathetic teaching methods. Can you give some examples of what's the approach that you take?
Sure. That's the most exciting program. I can talk for hours about it. So I think the insight came in 2010. Like I said, our direct work with children is creating a lot of impact. We're working with 10,000 students. We didn't have the capacity or access to money to take it to say 100,000. So we had to find a multiplying leverage, a leverage point that will help us scale our approach. So let's go back to the field and talk to the children. Then we went back and started talking to the children and say, why do you come to a Dream Team program? We had over 90% retention. We have over 85% attendance in our program. Why do you come? All of them invariably said because of the facilitator. We then started mapping the facilitator. What are these facilitators doing? We found out that many facilitators are not even using our curriculum because it is not working in their environment. But what they were bringing was they were able to create safe learning spaces, not just physical but also emotional safe learning spaces. They were able to build trust. They were listening, not just from the head, but also from the heart. And they were authentically able to validate and acknowledge children. Now let's try to translate this. So we're talking about being able to tell the children not just saying good job, but being able to say, I know you're really trying to come on time to class, and I appreciate that you're trying so hard. It's very specific, authentic validation. Creating safe spaces, which is not just about not beating the children, but also if a child puts up their hand 5 times and says, I did not understand this, the teacher being patient and saying, okay, let me explain it. Building trust where the child is able to come in and talk to the teacher and say, I have this problem. So we had this teacher who went through our first workshop of the teacher series, somewhere in Harvard. And then he's sharing this with us after a few months. He said, I went through this workshop and I went back to class. And I had this girl who used to always come late. And every time she'll come late, I'll punish her. I'll send her out of the class. After this training, I said, let me try something else. She came in late and he made her sit in the class. After the class, he took her aside. I said, tell me what happened. Why are you coming late? And the girl, basically, her answer was, it was shocking to the teacher. The girl's answer was, we don't have a clock at home. So I can't figure out the time, so I end up being late. Now for the teacher, that was a transformative moment. Just asking the question. For the girl, that was a transformative moment. The teacher paid attention to me and wanted to understand my problem. The next day, she started coming on that. That's all it took, listening. So an example of this is really that we use a lot of arts, we use experience learning, a lot of arts, in helping the teacher discover their own creative self. So as soon as they come into a training like this, we never sit like this, we usually sitting in circles. We ask them to actually make creative name tags. So each teacher has to make a creative name tag. That is the first creative risk a participant is taking. Many of them have actually never held a crayon or a sketch pen in their life for like 20 years. They don't believe they're creative because they think being creative is being able to play music. And then they start making, and then they start realizing they could do it. So that's the first creative risk. So we take them through stages of taking creative risk, such that they don't even realize that they've become a creative person. And they're coming up with their own set of ideas. That's how we do it.
Still have time for a question?
Please.
So, hi,
Vishal is ready to answer.
So, you're saying that you have teachers and you kind of train them, right? So, do you have a feedback mechanism as well, like, where the kids actually share how they feel about the teacher? Are they actually able to cope up with the mode that they're following the teacher? So, I struggle. I'm actually an administrator here in eVidyaloka. So, I want to get feedback from my teachers, from the kids, to better improve the way they're teaching. So, do you have some tips that you could help us with where we could gather the good and feedback from the kids? Because the kids that I'm talking about is they are 5th grade to 8th grade. So maybe around 10, 11 years old. It's a challenge for me to get that feedback.
So the kids come to the sessions.
Yeah, the kids come to the classes.
That's your feedback.
Yeah, so I have 7 teachers. I mean, they don't have a choice. They have to come because the coordinator.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference. I believe your kids are much more capable than we think they are. A kid will not invest 40 minutes of their time if they don't want to.
If I may interrupt, this is a school environment.
Yeah, school environment.
Yeah, so I think getting the children coming into the classroom is a vindication of that you are actually spending quality time. It's what we are hearing.
Even if they're forced, you will see if the kids are distracted, if the kids are being destructive, if the kids are disturbing others. What is that saying? It's not the lack of interest in the kids. I have to do something different. So if the kids are turning up every day for the session, that is your best indicator of feedback.
Yes, the challenge that I personally face in eVidyaloka, Vishal, is people are not willing to settle for less. Right? And which is a beautiful situation to be in, and that is reflecting exactly the same actually. Okay, what next? Child has come in, I want next level feedback. Right? How can I run this as NPS?
Of course, so you can take it to the next level.
Yeah, and that's.
See,
If you could reassure saying, I mean, just kids coming to the class itself is a big deal, that will make us a lot more.
So I just want to pitch in here. I think social changes take time. I mean, we have to be patient with. Yeah, there will be some indicators. If you put it in a straight line equation, there are many variables, and there is a huge. I mean, you will have a time lag when you will realize that you have reached the best line fit. So the patience is the key, and of course feedback. Continuously.
But of course, there are other indicators. Like for example, there are feedback tools which use basic, simple smiley faces. Right? Do you like coming to this class with 3 smiley faces, one sad, one neutral, one smiling? Those are easy ways for you to be able to get feedback from the kids around parameters that you want. I'll tell you, we love complexity as human beings. If it's simple, we think it's not working.
Yeah.
So when we started looking at impact assessment for our life skills program, how do you measure life skills? So subjective. How do you measure life skills? Right? So we started off with 20 life skills, 10 parameters, and we used to do it every 2 months in an academic year, which is almost 4 times a year we used to do it. So imagine my team was only doing that. Because if I have to collect the data for 30 kids in a class, and I was working with say 10,000 kids, I had a team that was just doing that. And then I was collecting all this data and I said, okay, this is not telling me anything, just downloads of data. So we spent 8 years simplifying it. Today we look at 5 life skills, 5 rankings, a simple observation tool, which helps us assess a child in less than 2 minutes on life skills. Less than 2 minutes. So in one class, I'm able to assess 30 kids. I do once at the beginning of the year, one at the end of the year. If the needle has moved, I know my impact. This scale, last year got published in an international peer-reviewed journal, has now been recognized as a standardized scale to measure life skills for any group of disadvantaged children anywhere in the world. That journey of complexity to simplicity. So if you have a simple tool, I'm telling you it's the most effective. So these are, like we forget these indicators, right? That if a child is turning up, that's an indicator of interest, of participation. If the child is smiling, that is an indicator of impact. And then we try to go after very complex indicators. So keep it simple is what my advice would be. Keep it really simple, keep it fun, and work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Share 1 or 2 individual stories of child that impacted the field. I know that we talked about at a societal level and as well as organization level. 1 or 2 children that you work with as a story. Sure. That will very much
So I'll share
I'm
one.
sure there's a lot of one people.
So we had this young man, I met him when he was 11 years old. He was in a non-formal school. And we started a field hockey program at that time, using developing life skills through hockey. The first time he came onto the field and we gave him a hockey stick, he hit another kid and broke his head. We had an amazing coach. He said, let's not punish him, but let's try to understand what this behavior is. It took us a year or so to understand that he came from a very violent family background. His approach to anything in life was violence. That's what he was used to. So we then spoke to the coach and he came up with this amazing approach of how to channelize his aggression. So after every session, as a punishment, he told him you have to practice for 30 minutes extra. He used to give him 25-30 balls and used to hit them. Hit them as hard as you can. But I want all the balls to go inside the goalpost. 6 months of just doing that, he became the best hockey player in the team. But he also channelized all his aggression into the sport. So he was not angry anymore. That's how powerful the sport is. Now the story doesn't stop there. We had an amazing volunteer who used to come for these hockey sessions 3 times a week, 6:30 in the morning. For 2 months, this kid dropped out of this session. He was not in school. We all got worried. So this volunteer said, I need to find out what happened. So myself and this volunteer went in search of his house. We just knew the neighborhood. It took us about 6 hours to finally find his house. And when he saw us walking in to his house, that moment we knew he had changed. What had happened is his dad had beaten him up, taken him out of school, started sending him to work. Then he saw us. The one thing that he realized was someone came looking for him. And immediately he made a decision that he's going to go back to the school and finish his education. In that moment. So he's fought his dad. Today he's nearly 22 years old. He's finished his BCom graduation. He works at UP on the life skills facilitator. A couple of years back, he came up to me when he had joined, started working with us, and he said, I need to share something. So he said, when I was a kid, I used to wait for the time when I would grow up and become big. So I could stand up to my father, and I could hit him back if he tried hitting me on my mother. And he said, I don't feel that way anymore. And realized that the kind of support I got growing up is probably what my father didn't get. Yeah, that's it. That level of empathy is what we develop. And I think that's really the core of all our work. The children grow up to be empathetic, responsive human beings. And that's a big lesson I have.
Thanks a lot. I think you stretched a little bit. That's all.
I love talking.
Yeah, I
So we have a short video which went to the playground.
Yeah. So as we said, this Teachers' Day, we said, none better than we will dedicate this one march to Dr. Kalam being this year. So we have, we typically a digital play, so we have video tribute from our kids for the teachers on this Teachers' Day, and we'll run that video. Yeah. It's all right. Just connect it. Push it on. Yeah. Select the schools as on. Yeah. So while I plug in the speakers, I have two little friends who wants to share how they have understood what they have learned from Dr. Kalam, actually, Shreyas and Sita.
This is Abdul Kalam's quote. நீங்கள் உறங்கும் போது வருவது அல்ல கண்டு உங்களை உறங்க விடாமல் செய்வதை கண்டு. Translation in English is, sleep is not what is sleep, but are those which doesn't let you sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth Shreyas. Let's now listen to it.
What is the one action which will make you great? Every one of you has a page in the history of the world. What is that page? How do you make that page which is going to be referred by the prosperity? There is a need to give a vision to the ambition. What I will be remembered for, what I will be, each one of us will answer questions. What I will be remembered for. And if you find an answer for this question of few lines, that out-of-box idea will drive you for the rest of your life. You will definitely thinking something different on an out-of-box vision. What are they?
I learned every youth wants to be unique. Every youth wants to be unique. But the world around you is doing it best day and night to make you just everybody else. Whether you want to be you or everybody else. Everybody else is convenient. and the first class, but not satisfying in the long vision. The challenge, therefore, my young friends, is that you have to fight the hardest battle which any human being can ever imagine to fight, and never stop fighting until you arrive at your destined place. That is the unique you.
As we dedicate this Teachers' Day to Dr. Kalam, eVidyaloka aspires to really translate his vision for India into action. Small remote technology 4 years ago, today has reached far and beyond the 4 different states across this country, penetrating into 40 different remote rural village locations. Leading from the front are these local grassroots organizations that we are absolutely proud of as they remain in the face of eVidyaloka to the children taking these classes every day. To these 40 villages, there are 300 plus teachers actively from various different time zones across 103 cities, from 11 different countries and 5 continents, constantly have instant confidence and inspiration to learn with over 2,300 plus children. Let's listen from them.
मेरा नाम अंकित कुमारी है। मैं क्लास 8 में पढ़ती हूँ। मेरे नाम पर स्वामी, मैं 7th क्लास से चुनाव। मेरा नाम मनीष कुमार है। मैं 7th क्लास में पढ़ता हूँ। मेरा नाम मयंक उपाध्याय है। मैं 8वीं कक्षा का छात्र हूँ।
मैं खुशी रानी कक्षा 7 की छात्रा हूँ।
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ವಿಜಯ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್, ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಪ್ರಾಥಮಿಕ ಶಾಲೆ ಮಲಗುಂಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು 7ನೇ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಓದುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैडम।
मेरे प्रेमिका, मैंने 6th क्लास चलती
मैं कुंदन कुमार कक्षा 1 का छात्र हूँ।
నా పేరు వరలక్ష్మి, నేను 7th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్నాను. ఈ విద్య నమస్కారం. నా ಹೆಸರು బ్రహ్మదేశ్. ನಾನು 7th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్నాను. నాకు కంప్యూటర్ ఇంగ్లీష్ సబ్జెక్ట్ ఇష్టం. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ 7ನೇ ತರಗತಿ. ನಮಗೆ
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು.
నా పేరు శివపార్వతి, 8వ తరగతి చదువుతున్నాను. ఈ విద్య
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಚೈತ್ರಾಂಗಿ, ನಾನು 6th क्लास में पढ़ती हूँ।
मेरा नाम शिवानी कुमारी है। मैं 6th क्लास में पढ़ती हूँ।
मैं सरस्वती मिश्रा।
నా పేరు సంతోష్. నా పేరు సరిత. నా పేరు సంతోష్. నేను हमारे विद्यालय में eVidyaloka की पढ़ाई होती है, जिसमें 2 टीचर पढ़ाती है। एक का नाम स्मिता राय है, दूसरे का नाम पूनम कुमारी है। और इसमें से हमें सबसे अच्छा स्मिता में लगती है, क्योंकि वो हमें बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ाते हैं और बहुत अच्छे से हंसी मजाक भी करते हैं। विज्ञान से हमें बहुत कुछ प्राप्त भी कर सकते हैं, इसलिए क्योंकि विज्ञान से ही सारा चीज हम लोग का बना हुआ है। और हम लोगों को गणित में राहुल रॉय और विज्ञान में प्रवीण सक्सेना पढ़ाते हैं। और इसमें से मुझे नवनीत कौर की पढ़ाई सबसे अच्छी लगती है। वो
हिंदू मैम की क्लास सबसे अच्छी लगती है और श्वेता मैम की क्लास सबसे अच्छी लगती है।
और मुझे पढ़ाई में अच्छी इसलिए लगती है क्योंकि वह हर एक चीज संक्षिप्त तरीके से बताती है। कैसे सारी चीजें हमें बताती है।
अनिल सर और वंदना मैम हम लोगों को पढ़ाती है। बहुत अच्छे से बातचीत करते हैं। हमको रोहित सर पढ़ाते हैं। हमको वो बहुत सुंदर लगते हैं और अच्छे से पढ़ाते भी हैं।
रेणुका मैडम साइंस చెప్తున్నారు, ప్రవీణ మేడం ఇంగ్లీష్ చెప్తున్నారు, విశ్వశ్రీ మేడం లెక్కలు చెప్తున్నారు. మాకు చాలా అర్థమవుతున్నాయి. ఇక్కడ ఏమైనా మిస్ అయిన క్లాసులు ఉంటే ఆ వీడియోల ద్వారా మాకు చెప్తున్నారు. మాకు సైన్స్ కి శ్రీరామ్ సార్, మ్యాథ్స్ కి భాగ్యలక్ష్మి మేడం, సాయి శిరీష మేడం బాగా చెప్తున్నారు. శ్రీరామ్ సార్ నైట్ టైం కేటాయించి కూడా చెప్తున్నారు. మేడం ఇంగ్లీష్, ఫోటోగ్రాఫిక్స్ సార్ మ్యాథ్స్ చెప్తున్నారు. సార్ సుమా మేడం అంటే పాటిల్ సార్ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಪಾಠ ನಮಗೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಹುಷಾರಿಲ್ಲ ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಬಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಹೇಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಪಾಠ ಹೇಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತದೆ. ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಹೇಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರಾಜಶ್ರೀ ಕಾಂಚನ ಅಂತ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಅಂತ ಸಂಧ್ಯಾ ಬಾಲಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ಅನ್ನೋಂತ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ವಿದ್ಯಾಲೋಕ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಆಗೈತಿ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರದೇ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಯೋಗಗಳನ್ನು ಕಲಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಐತಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾರ ಯಾರು ಕೇಳ್ತಿರಂಗಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ಕರೆದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಈಗ ಶಾಲೆ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ನಾವ ಶಾಲೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ ಏನು ಇದು ಮಾಡಂಗ ಅವರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟಿಪ್ಸ್ ನಮಗೂ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಚಾರ ಇಷ್ಟ ಕೀರ್ತಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಡಲು ಬಹಳ ಚಂದರು. ಮೇಡಮ್ ఆటలను కాబట్టి నాకు ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ అంటే చాలా ఇష్టం. పుస్తకాలు చదవడం కన్నా మోడర్న్ టెక్నాలజీ ఉపయోగించి క్లాసెస్ చెప్తున్నారు. మాకు మ్యాథ్స్ చెప్తున్నారు, గౌతమి మేడం సైన్స్ చెప్తున్నారు, అర్థం చేస్తున్నారు, వీడియోస్ చూపిస్తున్నారు. మాకు సైన్స్ ఆర్కే మేడం మ్యాథ్స్, శ్రీకాంత్ సార్ అర్చన మేడం సైన్స్ ఇంగ్లీష్ చెప్తున్నారు. రామసుధాకర్ సార్ ఎంఎస్ కోచింగ్ ఇస్తున్నారు. Happy Teachers Day, madam. Happy Teachers Day. eVidyaloka teachers nako Happy Teachers Day. आपकी योगा सूचना eVidyaloka teachers day ಶುಭಾಕಾಂಕ್ಷೆಗಳು. ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ.
Just one small disclaimer, this is just a representative of students. I mean, there are over 2,000 kids. Just a logistical limitations that we could break it. It represents all of your kids. Some of you might find references, some of you might not have, but they represent the effort that you are putting in. And they still, you can't believe, I mean, they send this all out in like 8 hours actually. Morning they were told, evening it was like all here, right? So just no inhibitions in sharing how important you all have been to the kids. So thank you very much for this. That's from our kids. So maybe we'll, yeah. So I know we shall be running late. We have another 10-15 minutes. We'll finish the felicitation and do that. Yeah. So yeah.
If in case anybody wants to share anything on this, maybe a line or two on how you felt seeing the video like this. Anyone.
It put a smile on all our faces.
Yes, I would like to share the interest that it showed. I was behind the scenes with the balloon.
Okay.
They were eager to send this. And apparently Nikita and Ranjit were asking for this. Yeah. So they had all of that. And also the inverter is not working.
Okay.
So absolutely no support from Moontra. Still 2 days, the kids waited after their classes till 8 o'clock, 8 p.m.
Wow.
Only to record this. And Shravani was working with me to get this done. And Ranjit was also trying to help. We couldn't manage it by the end of the day. But still 2 days, they were there till 8 o'clock only for this.
Phenomenal.
That was an amazing day. Imagine getting this from the kids and they're ready to stay back. Not in classes, but at least for this. So it was an amazing accomplishment, I would say, and satisfaction. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, so on behalf of eVidyaloka, we have a short, small token of felicitation to each one of you who have played a very significant role of your friendship. I would like to read out the contents of it before we share it, and on behalf of everyone, each stakeholder at eVidyaloka. Okay? Education is not filling of a pail, as Shal just mentioned during the speech, but lighting of a fire. Dear teachers, on this Teachers' Day, it's really is a privilege to express gratitude and thanks to you for being a source of inspiration and igniting the quest to learn amongst these children in rural India. The most thoughtful gift for these children is the time that you are giving. For the time you share to listen, to care, and turn learning into an adventure for our future generation. It's an honor to be associated with you. Your impact on the children extends beyond the classroom to the rest of their lives. eVidyaloka deems it to be a great pleasure to have you along this in the journey into the world of rural education. And salute your efforts for making the dream of quality education into reality. Thank you very much.
I would like to request Vinod to come on stage to hand over the section. I would like to call upon Rajilakshmi. Thank you for being here.
If they turn around this side.
I was checking on issue for the focus.
Excuse me. Let me get it. Thank you.
Next, I would like to call Usha Rao. Still, starting our problem. And Meenakshi. Thank you, Vishnu. Next, I would like to call upon Selena. Okay, Usha Shekhar. Next, I would like to call Murli Krishnan. Gauri Shankar, sir. This is myself, Kripa.
1 minute. Just one minute. Just 1 minute.
So,
All good.
Thank you.
yeah, I don't have to.
Yeah, I'll just get the certificate. Sorry for the repeat. Except we also missed the sapling. Please, one more round.
I do. Yeah, okay. So Gautami gets the thickest mistake. I would like to call Ram's mother. Dhatri.
Shrikant.
It's your video. I tell him.
Shrikant, can you just turn around a little bit? Yeah, I can't go this Got it.
We have two more other teachers who are not necessarily with eVidyaloka. Mr. So I think we find, I mean, teachers are teachers. Thanks for making it to this day. Yeah, so we also have two little extra special category here while teachers does the core of it. We had partnered with an APJ group which actually does an annual volunteering awards. It was done actually 5 months back. We thought we'll use this occasion to share. Incidentally, both the individuals are not here, but we do have their representatives. So I'll read out that citation actually, right? Then follow. This is to Ramesh Vaidyanathan. So this award is basically, I mean, who had contributed or in making eVidyaloka happen outside the core of activities. That they bring their expertise, professional expertise, way beyond the Call of Duty. I mean, this volunteering itself is way beyond Call of Duty, but what they've done is simply amazing. So I like to read out. I mean, it's a nice certificate we just made and present it to us. eVidyaloka Karmavir Chakra for people who have contributed to the cause of eVidyaloka, voluntarily leveraging their professional capacity within the legal and ethical framework. 2015. People with a blend of hard work, technical expertise, and integrity belong to a rare group of species. Ramesh is an epitome of one such personality. Broadband connectivity is one of the lifeline of eVidyaloka operations, and Ramesh has been there for us at every step of our journey since 2011. His contributions varies from sharing possible connectivity and plan options from BSNL. He works for BSNL. Advising on technical expertise, to to the connectivity status and not limited to connecting with appropriate engineers and technicians in as remote as Bero in Jharkhand, sitting from Kannur in Kerala. And most significant part is not an inch outside the official framework of BSNL as an organization. We now have explored a range of telecom solutions, right from landline broadband to smart Wi-Fi and everything in between, and make the classes at eVidyaloka. We can't imagine being where we are without Ramesh's volunteering contributions, well within his professional capacity, without an iota of conflict of interest at any point in time. Thank you very much, Ramesh. I would request Gayatri to collect this from the We really wanted to connect him online, but incidentally, Gayatri got his laptop. So this is another individual, Mr. Karthik Bala, same category. Technologist at heart. I thought he will be here. He didn't do the extra check to make sure that he is not very known for it. Technologist at heart, an entrepreneur by nature. Karthik, aged 31, is the CEO of the software engineering firm's Hedron Technologies in Bangalore. Karthik was engaged with eVidyaloka initially with Hedron as a technology service provider. We recall making a commercial conversation only at the first meeting in 2012 and never after that actually. Apart from his engineering working on my eVidyaloka platform, Karthik works with enthusiasm to make the technology work for eVidyaloka every single day. His contributions varies from sharing the surplus server capacity to the surplus mind share to give shape to the technology platform of eVidyaloka. Today it is difficult even for him to stop thinking and caring about eVidyaloka and its cause for deserving children in rural villages. What is most invaluable is not the tangible resource support of funding, but his unwavering belief in the success of eVidyaloka, always with a smile and never with an iota of obligatory tone. It's his eVidyaloka today. I thank you, Karthik. I'll probably call on Vishi to collect this on behalf of We also had certificate one more with Selena here. I should share it here. There is Ashias. That's the last one. Yeah. So this is again outside the core volunteering capacity. Is here granted to Arshia for raising funds during Kala Pravaha's annual day program to educate the children of rural India. She has been instrumental. Actually, there is a dance program by very prominent senior dance artist called Sinta Raghunath. And Arshia had been a student intern with eVidyaloka and developed belief in the cause. And as a student, I mean, she promotes eVidyaloka as a cause. And she has gone far and beyond in her dance school, encouraged it, and then they actually supported eVidyaloka in their last annual day and raised significant amount of funds for us, and Arshia has been very instrumental to it. I will call upon Selena to collect this on behalf of Arshia. Sorry?
I said we can
Oh, yeah.
keep together.
Sure. Yeah, so that's what you. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just break for 5-10 minutes for a cup of tea and I'll see what we do.
10 minutes.
So 10 minutes. Okay. Where is it arranged?
So it's there inside the room. It's just on the way to check. So
fact, I wanted to hear one story. It's always stories. Brings out.
Hari is from Ravi, So just 10 minutes break. Sorry that we delayed the so after this break, we have a short session on the education, discussion on education.
Volunteers are sitting across the board.
So I would not aspire to be but exposure. I keep a lot of
Attention please. So with the delay things having coming in a delay, we will slightly improvise it here. We'll carry on with the next component that we have in it. When the tea comes, we will serve your chance. Yeah, sure.
And sorry, so apologies for the delay.
Yeah,
I got a pet tea, but this is like
I am going to get into my teacher role right now. If you can hear me, clap one time. If you can hear me, clap 2 times. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Thank you. I would request all the guests to please have a seat. We have Rishi with us, who has a video to show and give you a small introduction of the video, and we'll take it from there. Rishi, the video, please.
yeah, I'll run.
So in the meantime, Rishi can just come in and give a small just about the video. I thought Rishi will be.
Yeah, no, his teacher is going to do that.
Entirely, but
Yeah.
sorry. Clap. Even sometimes they don't clap in performance. Because sound is something they get in. I do a couple of articles
Good morning, everyone. I think we've had a very good introduction by Vishal and Venkat about the teaching and how we approach teaching. So while Venkat sets up the video, which will be about education and how we prepare our children future generation, also kind of education we deliver and how do we deliver it. So we'll play a small video to start with, and then we'll have an open discussion. I would have loved to be part of the discussion, but Venkat would be here. So
You are welcome to share your action.
So are you also an eVidyaloka teacher?
I'm not a eVidyaloka teacher, but I'm a teacher in schools. I'm a volunteer teacher.
Oh, what do you teach?
I run an organization, again, with government schools, but it's direct teaching. It's not that in Bangalore, right? I'm not told about my application, but I thought eVidyaloka is a
No.
I start?
Yeah.
You want to tell who Ken Robinson is?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you here heard about Ken Robinson. There's this video TED Talk he gave become very famous, and he's written a few books which are very famous as well, The Element, and there's one more book I will try. But he's a very famous educationist from UK and now in the US. But I should definitely watch his videos. They were three TED Talks which have become very famous, and the books are also very good, on creativity especially. And I hope we can have those discussions now after the video. I hope it will be really good for you.
Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are two reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that? Given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating. How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out, how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do you square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which was if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself. And so people say we have to raise standards. This is a breakthrough. You know, like, really, yes, we should. Why would you lower them? You know, I haven't come across an argument that persuades me of lowering them. But raising them, of course we should raise them. The problem is that the current system of education was designed and conceived and structured for a different age. It was conceived in the intellectual culture of the Enlightenment and in the economic circumstances of the Industrial Revolution. Before the middle of the 19th century, there were no systems of public education. Not really. I mean, you could get educated by Jesuits, you know, if you had the money. But public education, paid for from taxation, compulsory to everybody and free at the point of delivery, that was a revolutionary idea. And many people objected to it. They said it's not possible for many street kids and working class children to benefit from public education. They're incapable of learning to read and write, and why are we spending time on this? So there's also built into it a whole series of assumptions about social structure and capacity. It was driven by an economic imperative of the time, but running right through it was an intellectual model of the mind, which was essentially the Enlightenment view of intelligence. That real intelligence consists in its capacity for a certain type of deductive reasoning and a knowledge of the classics originally, what we come to think of as academic ability. And this is deep in the gene pool of public education. There are really two types of people, academic and non-academic, smart people and non-smart people. And the consequence of that is that many brilliant people think they're not, because they've been judged against this particular view of the mind. So we have twin pillars, economic and intellectual. And my view is that this model has caused chaos in many people's lives. It's been great for some. There have been people who have benefited wonderfully from it, but most people have not. Instead, they suffer this. This is the modern epidemic, and it's as misplaced and it's as fictitious. This is the plague of ADHD. Now, this is a map of the incidence of ADHD in America, or prescriptions for ADHD. Don't mistake me here. I don't mean to say there is no such thing as attention deficit disorder. I'm not qualified to say if there is such a thing. I know that a great majority of psychologists and pediatricians think there is such a thing. But it's still a matter of debate. What I do know for a fact is it's not an epidemic. These kids are being medicated as routinely as we had our tonsils taken out.
and on the same whimsical basis, and for the same reason, medical fashion. Our children are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. They're being besieged with information and calls for their attention from every platform, computers, from iPhones, from advertising organs, from hundreds of television channels. And we're penalizing them for getting distracted. From what? Boring stuff. At school, for the most part. It seems to me not a coincidence totally that the incidence of ADHD has risen in parallel with the growth of standardized testing. These kids are being given Ritalin and Adderall and all manner of things, often quite dangerous drugs, to get them focused and calm them down. But according to this, attention deficit disorder increases as you travel east across the country. People start losing interest in Oklahoma. They can hardly think straight in Arkansas. And by the time they get to Washington, they've lost it completely. And there are separate reasons for that, I believe. It's a fictitious epidemic. If you think of it, the arts, and I don't say this exclusively the arts, I think it's also true of science and of maths, but I say about the art particularly because they are the victims of this mentality currently, particularly. The arts especially address the idea of aesthetic experience. An aesthetic experience is one in which your senses are operating at their peak, when you're present in the current moment, when you're resonating with the excitement of this thing that you're experiencing, when you are fully alive. An anesthetic is when you shut your senses off and deaden yourself to what's happening. And a lot of these drugs are that. We're getting our children through education by anesthetizing them. And I think we should be doing the exact opposite. We shouldn't be putting them asleep. We should be waking them up to what they have inside of themselves. But the model we have is this. I believe we have a system of education that is modeled on the interests of industrialism and in the image of it. I'll give you a couple of examples. Schools are still pretty much organized on factory lines, so ringing bells, separate facilities, specialized into separate subjects. We still educate children by batches. We put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? Why is there this assumption that the most important thing kids have in common is how old they are? It's like the most important thing about them is their date of manufacture. Well, I know kids who are much better than other kids at the same age in different disciplines, or at different times of the day, or better in small groups than in large groups, or sometimes they want to be on their own. If you're interested in the model of learning, you don't start from this production line mentality. It's essentially about conformity, and increasingly it's about that as you look at the growth of standardized testing and standardized curricula. And it's about standardization. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm. There was a great study done recently of divergent thinking. Published a couple of years ago. Divergent thinking isn't the same thing as creativity. I define creativity as the process of having original ideas that have value. Divergent thinking isn't a synonym, but it's an essential capacity for creativity. It's the ability to see lots of possible answers to a question, lots of possible ways of interpreting a question, to think what Edward de Bono would probably call laterally, to think not just in linear or convergent ways, to see multiple answers, not one. So there are tests for this. One kind of common example would be people might be asked to say, how many uses can you think of for a paperclip? Well, those routine questions. Most people might come up with 10 or 15. People who are good at this might come up with 200. And they do that by saying, well, could the paperclip be 200 foot tall and be made out of foam rubber? Does it have to be a paperclip as we know it, Jim? Now, they tested this, and they gave them to 1,500 people. This is in a book called Breakpoint and Beyond. And on the protocol of the test, if you scored above a certain level, you'd be considered to be a genius at divergent thinking. Okay? So my question to you is, what percentage of the people tested, of the 1,500, scored at genius level for divergent thinking? Now you need to know one more thing about them. These were kindergarten children. So what do you think? What percentage at genius level? 80. 80, okay. 98%. Now, the thing about this was it was a longitudinal study.
So they retested the same children 5 years later, ages 8 to 10. What do you think? 50? They retested them again 5 years later, ages 13 to 15. You can see a trend here, can't you? Now, this tells an interesting story, because you could have imagined it going the other way, couldn't you? You start off not being very good, but you get better as you get older. But this shows two things. One is we all have this capacity, and two, it mostly deteriorates. Now, one of the things that happened to these kids as they've grown up, a lot. But one of the most important things that happened to them, I'm convinced, is that by now they've become educated. You know, they've spent 10 years at school being told there's one answer, it's at the back. And don't look. And don't copy, because that's cheating. I mean, outside schools, that's called collaboration. You know, but inside schools. Now, this isn't because teachers want it this way, it's just because it happens that way. It's because it's in the gene pool of education. We have to think differently about human capacity. We have to get over this old conception of academic, non-academic, abstract, theoretical, vocational, and see it for what it is, a myth. Second, we have to recognize that most great learning happens in groups. The collaboration is the stuff of growth. If we atomize people and separate them and judge them separately, we form a kind of disjunction between them and their natural learning environment. And thirdly, it's crucially about the culture of our institutions, the habits of the institution and the habitats that they occupy.
Yeah.
I hope it was good.
Very good.
I must say that there's a video of this, which I will refer you. It will have you space and at the same time really.
And this is intentionally chosen by Zia. I mean, that kind of challenges what we do today. And I thought it would be a great subject of discussion, kind of exchange thoughts, views from each one of us, and I'll let Richard.
So as we discussed in the beginning, we have to discuss around what and what kind of education, how do we deliver the education for future generation. I thought I put across one question. I do this in classes that I can teach. I read one interesting book many years ago. It's on education by a guy called Guy Claxton. And the title of the book is "What is the Point of School?" If an alien comes to Earth from some other planet, and to the inside the system of education, what do you think about this? And what is this for? What are we trying to do? And I go to the classes and I always ask this to my students: why are you here? First question I ask. And why are you studying these subjects? And why are the classes from 1 to 10? Why don't you just start with 8? Or what is it 12? What is this whole thing? Have you ever thought about it? And I would want you to also tell me what we are doing and going and teaching. And we're trying to pass something or we're trying to make some difference. I want to learn, understand your thoughts, and maybe have a discussion around what are we trying to achieve? What is the kind of education that we are trying to deliver to students and future generations? Anyone, any thoughts?
And I also thought, I mean, the same segment, we could share how your class experience has been and relate to this actually. So that's the whole idea.
I don't think by our teaching they are going to become knowledge about the subject, but I think we are trying to teach them to learn, be self-sufficient. So if we teach them a little bit, from there they should learn more. So we are trying to teach them to learn by themselves.
How to flesh.
Right.
More of a trigger yourself. Be a trigger.
And it would be great if you can share experiences from your teaching, whatever you've done so far. Any interesting experiences, any insights, these are moments that you get a lot of insights when you are dealing with children. If there is anything that has triggered understanding, anyone wants to share anything on that. And how do you visualize the education of future?
Vishal was saying, right? When we are teaching, it is not teaching a subject, we are becoming the role model. So I have this experience, I just teach, managed to teach English very good. So there is this guy who asked, just speaking English, and then he asked, what is it I need to do to become, or to use laptop in communication? So they are able to see beyond, the roles that the others play in around the village and inside the school. So that is something that was an eye opener for me. So you're actually playing a bigger role than just going and teaching and imparting that education, whatever subject it is.
So one has been the role model, which has.
I
Is there any other
think
role?
that
Yeah.
I would think that they have got, let's say, 40 hours a week of classes. Our interaction with them is only 2 hours of that. That also not in person. So it's 5% of interaction. Definitely it's not for the subject teaching, but to, as Vishal said, the spark, if it can be brought in, and some self-confidence, and then they look up to you, to talk to you. It's a very small interaction. Of course, we have a lot of constraints also in that. Say, for example, the place I am now interacting with top slip. There are monkeys, there are elephants which play through on the terrible connection. So, and then we had more non-connectivity than the connectivity, the real life constraints. So I am definitely very clear that I'm not going to teach them mathematics. If I can get them interested into the impact of education for them in the future, something for them to get literate. See, there is a lot of exploitation that goes on in the children's. I suppose if this generation picks it up and then takes on.
And if you have to teach similar child who is more accessible to you, what kind of subjects? I mean, just another side of the.
What I mean to say is,
No, just understood actually. Yeah, no, I mean, what type of education, if you may have lead that your thought, point of view or the thought towards, okay, what if you have a child fully available to you to be taught? What type of education you believe is appropriate in this day and situation?
Then somebody else to deal with the subjects. It's only to enhance that and to bring that interest in life, the life skills, the communication skills. Maybe more important, the confidence about himself. Maybe to talk. The students communicate in the few classes that we had. Yes, students come out. It took a class probably first interaction. Then the students talk and they learn the things. It's more on getting them to realize themselves probably.
Sure. To build on what's essentially what you're trying to ask is, we all have a conception of education that we want to see, and that's why we're trying to.
Yes.
If you can share your ideas about what you're envisioning as education for children, you can
So more on what Venkat said, it's not about just teaching math or science, right? It's about making them a good person in the society. And from eVidyaloka, narrowing down my thoughts to eVidyaloka, they're able to see beyond, and they're able to see that there are people out there around the world, because when they have a teacher who's teaching from London or wherever, they're able to figure out that there are others who they can reach out to, and their horizon is expanding. So we are expanding their thought flow, their reach, and they can dream big. That's a huge value add that we are bringing from the mode of education that we are.
If you have to compare between, say, an understanding of a concept, right, versus the exposure the child is having, right, how would you see, say, one in the absence of other?
I think concept even the local teacher will be able to do.
I mean, assuming it is not being given, that's a scenario today, right? Which one do you kind of see? Yeah.
So, my opinion is the second one, that is teaching them how to be as a person, will be adding more value than the concept. Today, I learned calculus or whatever, but how much am I actually implementing back today in real life? So, the application of that is very less. So, it's again a narrowed, it's totally narrowed down to the thought and the subject. But however, the other part where you are shaping them as a person, that is actually, when you, as you said, right, the partners and individuals is not creating one person. If that person, really grows and he's able to manage himself.
Yeah, you're simply saying, I mean, I vote for this over this if I have the choice between the two. Sure.
But that's the challenge that we always have is something that we discussed with eVidyaloka every time. Right? We have chosen the path to get into government schools and then teach them various subjects. Okay? The reason for that is there are constraints for us to operate within the existing schooling system for us to get the attention of the kids. Right? So you all are very clear that we cannot expect that overnight that system will change and they will let us to just teach them life skills as the only subject. Right? So, but we are also not pretending that actually, as I was saying, that we are actually really going to be the only ones who are going to be teaching the concepts, which is the maths. So this debate that we have within eVidyaloka always is like, as a team, we understand that teaching subjects is not the end goal, right? Because that's not going to really solve the problems that they're facing on the field, which is to how to make their life better, right? So this is in the we have taken this as a medium to which to get so that we get an audience of kids. Now it's up to the teachers to figure out like why I actually let's say pretend to be teaching the subjects, how do we impart the life skills, how do we impart them the so-called societal value systems, or subtly, right? Because you cannot do it. The kids are very smart. They will clearly know the moment that you come up with the definition of value system, will clearly be able to reject it if they don't like it, right? So it's important to use the vehicle as a medium to impart or show yourself as a mentor or the model, role model who is actually doing something in society and then get them interested. Right? So it's a debate we have all the time because as one side we don't believe that the education system that exists today is the right vehicle to be able to teach them how to make their life better. But we are constrained by how the system is set up. So we actually have to use that to get into the next level.
I completely agree. I work with government schools, and we have to find some way to change that. We can't do directly whatever and
exactly. We have to work with the system. Right? I think that is where I think people who actually believe that the existing system has limitations, but how do we use that as the first step to reach the children, and then move forward so that they get the attention of the children, you get the trust of the child, then you will be able to take the next level. To do that, this is an important framework within which you have to go.
Yes. So it's not going to be anything very generic. It's going to be specific examples that I have come across while seeing the eVidyaloka classes. So we run a very similar model to government schooling system. Now we work with a independent school, which is an all-boys school, and this is where I am going to connect with marketing. How exposure is very helpful. We teach almost in a similar way. We don't do any magical things over there. Just teaching them, showing them a couple of videos. And in that all-boys school, suddenly there were one or two girls who started attending the classes. And till then, we had never told the teachers that okay, this is an all-boys school. And we have a WhatsApp group running where the teachers came saying that okay, why is the girl attending so less? I have 50 boys and only 2 girls. I was shocked that how can there be 2 girls? The other teacher comes and says, "Arey, but I don't have any girls in my class." I went back to the teacher, which class is it? Went back to the class and spoke to the kids, and I got to know that 2 of the boys have been getting their siblings to the class. They wanted the siblings to see what is happening in my class because the girl child is not sent to school. And that is where I felt that in fact, even if it's a very basic education, we believe or we dream that we'll be role models to the children. They themselves are being a role model in their family, in their community. If a child is teaching them till the 8th grade, I do not know what he is going to be after 15 years, but I'm sure that he is going to ensure that his siblings, his neighbors, his relatives do get into education and they come up with it. That's how it is.
Yeah, can I ask a very basic question? It's very naive. In the schools that we teach, are there regular teachers teaching the subject?
Yes. Yeah. There are appointed teachers for teaching the subject.
And where are they, are they taking classes? Because we are taking classes
There
doing
are two
normal
answers to that. They are supposed to be appointed, and those who are appointed are supposed to be teaching.
classes.
Can I add to something? Yeah, I did have my aunt. She was a government school teacher, and she was appointed some 30-40 kilometers at home. So she told me that the model was runs in government schools. She used to go to her classes, but there were teachers who had appointed someone else to take the class instead of them, and they used to pay them some amount of money.
Wow.
So I know so that's when the UP government, she is in UP, so the UP government had a contract and they made it compulsory, and they had a lot of people, they would a lot of people, but this is still a common model going on in UP, Bihar, and everywhere. You don't have the teachers actually taking classes. You have someone else just pretending to be going on the classes. So they have a sudden checks, sometimes they can catch all the people who are campus. But if it's a check, which people know, okay, tomorrow is a check, so they do come and take the classes, but they don't come actually. So that's how it goes on in government schools.
So that means the classes that we are taking, because I'm taking it prime time, 10:30 to 11:30. That means those teachers are absent or non-existent.
Yeah, so in your school, there are supposed to be 2 teachers.
Yeah.
one headmaster and another teacher who is 59 years, just about to retire actually. And there are like 120 children in the school actually. So,
they have administrative work.
So if I would not take that class, these children would be running films.
Correct.
Most probably.
Correct.
And also the attendance, when I got the assessment, I found that there were 40 children supposedly in that class. But the attendance is never more than 25. 15 to 25 is what I average. So who is to challenge those students to say, why aren't you coming?
Here, I would reiterate the point that I heard from Venkat. These schools, when they visited the schools in person, they saw only 2 or 5 students per grade walking around. Now, if you say that you have 15 to 20, that's a huge achievement from our side.
This is usually the case. Actually, organizations are working to have this increase, which is still far less than the actual count.
They do the people who enroll, kids enroll will be higher because they get the midday scheme the money that the school can get is based on the number of students who are there. So they will have some focus.
Focus entries. I haven't seen any focus entries, meaning that in the names, I have seen these children, off and on. So it's not the same children who come every day, but I've seen almost all the names.
Actually, a fascinating system. The teacher of its own, the more time you spend with it, you realize there's so many things wrong with it. We are trying to make a small direction.
So Usha, you have seen a lot of people, various organizations working, especially in this sector. You've been an aggregator.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts around this actually? What's the right thing that we need to teach the children?
So we have interacted with several organizations that work in the education space, and I think in the NGO space, the education space is probably the most overcrowded. Like there are people with a variety of ideas and models, and each one seems to be working in its own way. Like we've interacted with Demovidya, which used to be a part of the SVYM. So they used to again have digital content which they were using in government schools. Then there was Shikshana, of course, which was working with teachers, and they train the teachers to function better. They go and do a sort of an analysis in schools as to what is it that ails that particular school. Is it a teacher issue? And the issues could be different for each schools. It could be a teacher issue, it could be an attendance, it could be an infrastructure issue, it could be social issues. So they address each school differently, is what I understand. So there are ways and ways of doing it, and I think there is a lot of scope for supplementing one approach with another, and
no one such right way.
There is no one
that we have
right
clarity
way.
of that.
From what I have seen of what you all do, as I think I've told you several times,
yes,
that your Google Glass video was the thing which kind of blew me away. Kind of thing. That of course you're teaching the curriculum. Of course there is a set curriculum that has to be delivered. But if that child in that remote village could know that, oh my God, this is a possibility, and this is what is happening in the world, and it fires his imagination and makes him dream. I think that is your real value.
Yeah, just to add on the Google Dreams, it's Google Glass thing. It was one of the sessions we had. A couple of teachers sharing in yesterday's online sessions, where more and more of happenings where some of the PhD students who are teaching has been showing their labs, right? They are delivering from their labs in US universities, and the children actually force them to kind of show what is going on behind, right? So she said I had to take the pain to go and explain what research she is doing, and the child is able to appreciate and ask questions actually in that, right? And there's another teacher from Tennessee who actually showed a robo. He works on robotics actually, right? And he showed a working robo to the child. I think sometimes actually we ask ourselves, actually, are we firing the imagination and letting them loose? Actually, that's a good challenge to have, though. Yeah. So, do you have a thoughts to share on this? Actually? Sure.
I want to enter here and speak something from. So yesterday we had a session on Hangout, the morning session, where one of the volunteer teachers had a very important question, and this is more from a pedagogy point of view. How do you do that? And she spoke about something called context. She said the books are not contextual. They have stories of which are not of this land, maybe not of the village or the cluster these schools are. So how do you create that context to teach? And I want to know people's view on this because I know as a computer science teacher, it's very difficult to. Rasuka is a computer science teacher, right? It's very difficult to create context there. And then we have our volunteer teachers. And I would really like to know your views because then this will act as a fuel for the other teachers who have these confusions.
Maybe you can share your own example on how you are addressing it.
Yeah.
Which will be great. Yeah. So in fact, I was thinking probably we should kind of have another probably 10-15 minutes. We can switch to kind of some of you can come in front and share your story experience. That will be a wonderful way to close this. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Gautami. So I usually teach. No, I never taught before coming to here. So the thing is, I was a dyslexia. I suffered small dyslexia. So the only teacher available to me was my mom. And what she used to do, she was a student of Telugu medium. She only completed her matriculation. So she used to bring her Telugu medium books and compare it with my English medium books, and she used to convert it. And all this because I had to score 90-80% in my school exam. She used to go to the principal and she used to request the principal to give her more time in the exams, give her 1 hour extra. I was really a very slow writer and my math is still slow. But yet today I stand as an engineer. I don't know how I got that. I scored a 96 in my math and I'm yet to set to give my CAT and GMAT and further in the next year. So yeah, I faced adverse conditions that I've overcome because there was someone to support me, like my mom. So I always thought that if there was this movie Target Anywhere, you would have seen. Awesome movie, and I was able to relate it. So I thought I should do something to people who are suffering like mine, or I don't know, connect with them. So the first day I was giving my class, the experience is this. I just asked them, share with you guys.
Yeah.
Who's the president of India? They were like saying it, Narayana, Surya Narayana. I didn't ask president of India. Who is the president? And they were like saying it. It is Mr. Surya Narayana. I was like, who is he? They were saying, no, he is our some Sarpanch president. They call. So no, that's not the thing. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee is our president. So okay. Then I have fired a couple of GK questions, which they were like, no, there was zero answer. And then I asked them, who's the hero of this movie called Chivita? Yeah, 100%. Everyone was like, yeah, that is Ram Charan. And who is Gabbar Singh? It is Pawan Kalyan. From that day onwards, I became Gabbar, and the coordinator who's handling there, she became my Samba. So I just say, Samba, I get Gabbar. Samba checked that out and think, wow. So I know it might sound childish to all your experienced pets, but that's the way I could capture their attention. And
that experience is not required for the children. It's what we believe.
Here I got a very good insight, which is, I think the answer was correct. For them, the president is their politics. It was not wrong.
It was not wrong. It was not wrong. So that thing is that we might be at a very higher level. Teach them. We have to grasp their knowledge, what they are knowledgeable about. So they are more knowledgeable about these films which they see. And no, they are not at all knowledgeable about ministers, and they are not even bothered about. So the thing is, I wanted to impart the GK along with my science. So what I do is that whenever I put this quiz, there will be a quiz session after a lesson. What I say is that pick out names. Pick out yourself names. So I just say, and they say Apple. The first quiz session was the name for Apple, Jasmine, and some such. So no, not like this. Pick out some names from the history. So we don't know. Then I have to explain them who is Jhansi Lakshmi Bai, then Rudrama Devi. And then it was like 5 to 10 minutes of class about the history. And then I said, okay, pick up the names. Then these pick up. And now the last quiz class, The names were Smriti Irani, Sushma Swaraj. That's the way I teach, and science experiments. Being a science teacher, the challenge was not experiments. So what I do is that, okay, whatever the beakers and everything, all that stuff is needed, I just show them the videos. But I increase them wherever there are minimal, like there was this small experiment in acids and bases. I just told you. So there they just made a turmeric paste and soap water and a paper. So I just asked them to get one kid to get it and others to get some soap and some water, which was available in there itself. So yeah, they did it, and everyone the experiment is just you draw a figure on a paper. You have to apply the turmeric paste on it, and you have to crush the soap water on it. So it turns the color. It gives the property, acidic property of the nature of the thing. So they were so excited they did it, and they were like coming to my Skype. Like, can they should go, ma'am, see mine. It was like, yeah, it's been a very great experience.
Yeah, I can see you kind of thoroughly enjoying it.
I really enjoyed this. Just me, what new story are we going to tell me today?
Sure.
And this all happened because you have given me a chance, and I really
Eventually, you are doing heavy lifting. We keep telling actually, we get undue credit to actually posting in this garage room actually. So actually, the heavy lifting is done across 100
that
cities.
this much could be done online. I mean, in the sense that via Skype and you're connected so beautifully to children is really.
We will keep continuing to amaze you, Vishal. It's actually the kind of stuff people does. You love to kind of hear more? Yeah, thanks.
Going back, the question was more about context.
Yeah.
Someone can throw some light. How do you create context in an online class? Really?
What she was studying, I would say.
You can introduce your name, which
Hi,
class.
my name is Anshika, and I'm right now working in LLB for like that's how I got joined eVidyaloka because they had tied up with LLB for next. So I do take classes twice a week. So initially I used to take classes from my office, but then the bad way I used to miss all the classes, so I just started taking it from home. The advantage of taking it from home is my mom used to teach my brother who was, he had some sort of a mental disorder, and people said, okay, you have to send him to a special school and all that. But she fought with everything and she made sure that he is in a normal school, and today he's doing this an MBA, so he's been a head start. So the advantage is when I am teaching, she actually tells me, how do you teach? This is not how you are going to teach the students, this is how you tell them. So there are times when she actually gave me stuff and say that this is not how you could have understood, so please tell them this way. So she is more interested in like telling me how, okay, do it this way, do it that way. So yeah, I have started learning more on how to I do actually tell them. And she is being, so I was just telling her that why don't you take a class one day rather than me. Because I think you could teach better. But she was like, no, it's okay, the way you are teaching, it's fine. I would just support you. So yeah, she now she has started telling me that, yeah, I'm getting prepared for your class and this is not how you would tell me.
Hey, you have free admin there.
This is not. So when some days when I'm not telling it, like I do get stuck up with the Hindi words because being born and brought up in Calcutta, I've not had my Hindi education that day, and she has been a Hindi student also. So then she has started telling me, this is not how you pronounce, this is not how you tell. So and the other day when she was cooking and there were a lot of voices that the children could see, and they were asking me, is that your mom? What is she doing? And yeah, she's cooking. Do you want me to call them? I'm like, yeah, please, will you give me those stuff? I'm like, yeah, please come here. So yeah, it's been fun, and I have actually started learning more from them than they learning from me. So yeah.
I just want to say, Vishal already mentioned, Maya Master, she's written a book, The Discovery of Charity, which is like a Bible for youth teachers. And one of the things she says is that before you become a teacher, you first become a student of this.
Yes, correct.
And that's what I think. People are actually doing it.
And I'm seeing
wonderful volunteers. I think
more and more of that actually. In fact, yesterday again in the online calls, many of them keep saying that actually. I am kind of learning more, which is motivating me to continue more in doing what I'm doing. Maybe some from the admins, Sudhakar, Dhatri. Yeah, please. Sure.
So one thing definitely I found as a challenge was that the children are teaching English, Jharkhand. So I find that they have, they cannot read very well. You know, put the line of text is very difficult for them to read. But the Pratham books are excellent. Those Pratham books that we have are absolutely phenomenal. So first they have beautiful pictures and they have context. The Pratham books are all based of India, Indian stories. They can relate to them. You know, this is not a Cinderella or a Three Little Bears or anything like that. These are real Indian stories where, going to a wedding and, Alu and Balu and, Alu, Balu. So these are things that children can understand. And they are able to read that. And I feel so good. You display the page, in a PDF format on the screen, and the whole class reads. So that makes us feel really good. But then they are not at the 6th class level. See, that Pratham books is at a maybe, second or third class level. So how to find stories at that level that they could read? And then they're being able to read it one time on a screen and the page goes away, another page comes. How long will that stay in their minds? So I would love to get them the Pratham books in their hands. At least if we can get one copy in the school and maybe have them share it, maybe like a reading room, children could come in and read it, that would be great. All the Pratham books are very good. So, at least I feel good that they're able to read that. The other thing that I've done is, so of all my presentations, I took the most important slides. I took about 13, 14 of them, made multiple copies, 40 copies, and I mailed it to this NGO in Sheetalpur, who then passed it on to the school, and the teacher coordinator distributed it. So now when I begin a class, so I want to begin plurals, I ask them, okay, everybody show me your sheet, and then go to page 6. And on page 6, I have all the plurals listed, because without that visual confirmation in their hands, just by seeing it on the screen, I do wolves. I want to show them F goes away, VES. And I take that screen away, go to another screen. How will that stay in their minds? There's no reinforcement. So I ask them to take out their pin. And I think that helps. Because now they're all able to say wolves, without that. So I can even go to the end of the class and then say, okay, now, wolves. Everybody will say wolves. Okay, glasses. So if it had gone away and they have nothing in their hands, they cannot do it. Because I've taught the same class in the previous sessions. In fact, that was another reason why I wanted to teach the same class again.
Yes.
Because I wanted to see if I can improve on what I've done before. I don't want to make fresh mistakes. I want to correct my past mistakes. So I could see the change between this class and last class, because this class has something in their hands. So more and more, I think having something printed in front of them absolutely helps. Another thing that I did on Christmas Day, for example, Christmas and New Year, so I gave them a song to sing, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas. So we had fun singing that, we put them up on the screen, they read it, understood it, sang it a couple of times. So these kind of things, really help, just change the monotony of the classes and stuff like that. Other than that, again, I showed them, my first class, I showed them the map of India. I showed them, you are here, I am here. So, this is Bangalore, this is Jharkhand, and now we are talking over the, network. This is how it is. And of course, there are other people in other parts of the world who are teaching you, but I'm sitting here. So, a couple of times I asked them, okay, where am I? Okay, you're in Bangalore. Where are you guys? Okay, you're in Sheetalpur. The other thing I do is a lot of times I have to come up with sample sentences, fill in the blanks, etc. And I try to be gender sensitive. So I make sure that she is a doctor, and he can dance. Things like to explain to them, hey, that women can also be in important positions, and boys can also dance or sing, because otherwise the sentences, if you notice, it's always a girl who can dance. They'll never say that a boy can dance. It's a girl that can sing. They they never say boy, So these, trying to be gender sensitive about even the exercises that we do or sample sentences that we create can convey something to them subtly, subliminal messages.
Sure. Yeah, I still remember Satish, when he was here, I had to return back without able to meet Usha because she was on a class in Shikarpur. Unwavering commitment, Usha. Brilliant, actually.
So, Venkat, one thought.
Yeah.
Does it make sense for you? I think it makes sense for you to document all these learnings. If you need help in that,
Sure. The second part, I love it, actually.
yeah.
Sure.
And do it as a volunteer.
We definitely, we are struggling, actually.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because each of these is giving you a certain hint on how to go about things,
Right.
and you can probably give that as a guideline for future teachers, something whichever way you want to use it.
Sure.
So I can for sure help in that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, I love that. So we have 4 certificates to be given. We'll just finish that. And probably, yeah, if anyone else would like to share? Murali, we have taken a few classes, but we could. Yeah.
So I'm Murali Krishna.
I know we are generally extending on the time, but I hope it's fine and what you have. Yeah.
I've taken maths classes to Vetuanam and now in Oxford. So my approach has been maths. When we say maths, kids don't stick up and they see it as a toughest subject. I can't relate to that and things like that. So my approach towards that was making it. There was a section of mathematics called recreational mathematics, which was not usually touched upon in the schools at all. So I relate to that. So in one of my classes, when they were talking about the logic and the directions and the additions and things like that, I introduced something called the magic square. Right? So when the magic square was introduced, they got fascinated. So they were able to relate to it, and I'm amazed at the number of questions they asked, the number of things they used to observe in that. Every class they wanted to do magic squares. So I said, okay, we'll have fun, but we'll have to continue with what you have to learn as well. Another aspect on the data handling portion of it, there were histograms, and people had to understand how the data varies and what are the statistics about it. So when I tried to use the Excel to demonstrate the charts and things like that, they were more interested in learning how Excel is. Can you teach me computer science? Can you teach me Excel? So, in fact, as some of you said, I get motivated more and more by interacting with kids. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, so we just about to close that. Yeah.
I would like to call upon Ravi for yoga.
Yeah. So maybe before that, we'll finish the 4th certificate. Yeah, maybe I would like to call upon Usha. If you could help. We have I will have to call the people. For example, we will see backbone of it. I'll be.
Can I take just 2 minutes to supplement Murali Krishna's speech, which none of them in eVidyaloka knows?
Sure.
Murali Krishna actually was teaching for a center called Vetuanam. I would say the most experimental part of my life. Connectivity done, children there, curious to learn. I have a long list of students expecting them to turn up. The classes were happening from 5:30. When he comes from office, he is ready online and he comes to class. There were hardly 7 classes, 6 to 7 classes, and on the 11th class, attendance list comes to me telling me, I was wondering, only only 12 students, why am I seeing 23 students? And we at eVidyaloka, we follow the language medium schools. I was wondering why there are so many students, and then I called upon the class assistant to give me the list. She's giving me, Madam TM, Madam EM. I said, what is this TM, EM? Madam Tamil medium, English medium. I couldn't even go cross with her because we have been talking only face to face with Skype. I was asking her, what is the problem? Like, why there are 23 students? Madam, sonna pochkaadinga. People from the Tamil medium went to the school and told them, sir is teaching this way. So the neighbors from the English medium also started attending our classes. And in the place where I had to, actually I was happy one thing, but my ethics says
centers. For me, eVidyaloka is the world of kids. I said, okay, and I knew at that point, okay, the center is going to be there for another few weeks. So let the children enjoy as far as they can. The same thing had happened with 7th and 8th standard teacher. Incidentally, maths is a hit. And I have seen myself assessing their papers that the average score was close to 77 in maths alone in 7th and 8th. Every maths teacher, being Murali Krishna sir or Chandra Prabhakar ma'am or even Sri Kumar sir, I know, like he's an epitome of mathematics. All these three that I wish I could learn from you. When they could create an impact in just 2 online classes, he hardly gets to teach 45 minutes for in a 1 hour class. Hardly 45 minutes. And the next class was, you wouldn't imagine, it's from 6:30 to 7:30. And the children stayed till 7:30 to learn maths and then go home. When the center was closed down, I really can't imagine how bad they felt. But then, so I have made it in a point, so these are the list of teachers who need to be with eVidyaloka if eVidyaloka is going to go a long way.
And
So
for
this is for you only.
I should make a commitment. For that reason, I'd like to call upon Gayatri to come and please answer. As she has been the class administrator for the Mudanavan Center, and we have that as her activity. And if I may call Kripa, yeah, as a teacher. Did you get yours? Oh, it's given here, okay. So we have been Swapna with the other class administrator.
Just one thing, I would also like to add. Now, my elder son is in the 7th standard now, and it's been difficult for me to start the academic year to teach him mathematics. So I've been like running around looking for who can teach him mathematics because it's now been getting from simple to complex and all that. So once I had a call with my dad and he said, I'm really frustrated, I'm not getting anybody in the building. It's very far off, then I'll have to, pick him up and drop him. It's becoming difficult. He said, why did you not think of me all the while? He said, you're sitting in Chennai, what did I think about you? You in eVidyaloka are teaching globally, worldwide. You think I won't be able to do it for your son just on 1-to-1? So that's the inspiration.
To hand over Anshika. So yeah, with that, over to you, Ravi, to close the session. Thank you, Vijay.
Yesterday when I was talking on this Google Hangouts thing, I mentioned that people think that education is an aid to life. It is not. It actually is life. There's a fire that's inside each one of the volunteers, that's inside each one of the teachers. That's over here. That is not flickering. It's a strong fire that's burning inside each one of us to make that difference. In India today, over 500 million people delay their dinner to tomorrow morning, every day. What they need is some food, but they also need is some fire for that. And this fire that you're carrying inside is going to be the fire that's going to light up their stuff. So I thank you very much for being that fire that's going to ignite different minds, different stuffs in different ways. Thank you very much.
We'll close with the national anthem.
विनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाये तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, everybody. Discourse. Yeah.
I want my